When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. Catch every moment of your team's playoff push with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. You'll get amazing features like multi-view, and right now, it's only $49 for the rest of the NFL regular season. So give yourself the ultimate gift this holiday season. Get NFL Sunday Ticket for $49. Sign up now at youtube.com/Sunday Ticket. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
This is the FPL Draft Zone, your fantasy team's best signing of the season.
Spurs ship 6 against Liverpool as Slot tops the table at Christmas. Jesus has been born again as Gabby J hits 5 in 2 games for Arsenal. And are Everton defenders more valuable than ever before? Hello and welcome to the FPL Draft Zone, a podcast all about Draft FPL. I'm Dom Crofts, and yes, it is a Christmas miracle because we are back after a few weeks away with a look at all the action from another dynamite week of Premier League football. We're also going to be looking ahead to those all-important fixtures on Boxing Day and beyond, and we have those waiver tips to come as well. I should say sorry for our continued absence over the last few weeks. There have been all sorts of reasons that I won't go into detail about, but suffice to say work trips and tonsillitis and other stuff has not really helped. But we are here now, and you know what they say, better late than never. So let's not dilly-dally any longer. Let's remind ourselves of what happened in Game Week 17, the game week that has just been and gone. And it all started at Villa Park, where Aston Villa beat Manchester City 2-1, John Duran starting ahead of Ollie Watkins for the 3rd game running, and Morgan Rogers running riot, picking up a mega haul of 14 points for his owners. Meanwhile, Manchester City, well, that's their 6th league defeat now in their last 8 league games. Home form Kings Brentford lost their first game of the season at the G-Tech, with Nottingham Forest cementing their place in the top 4. Ola Aina scored and got maximum bonus points for the visitors. He is now the top point-scoring defender in the entire game. And Ipswich were well beaten at Portman Road as Alexander Isak put them to the sword with a hat-trick in a 4-0 win. West Ham and Brighton shared the points at the London Stadium with returns for Kudos, Vifa, Bowen and Dunk. And at Selhurst Park, sweet Jesus, what a result for the Gunners. Gabriel Jesus scoring twice and getting an assist in a 5-1 win for Arsenal, who lost Bukayo Saka to a long-term injury. On Sunday, Everton and Chelsea drew 0-0. No team in Europe has now got more clean sheets than the Toffees since October, and this latest one was their 7th of the campaign. And it was also 0-0 at Craven Cottage, where Fulham were unable to break down a resolute Southampton side who had Aaron Ramsdale back in goal and performing very well indeed. Wolves got off to a winning start under their new manager Vitor Pereira, with Cunha scoring again. Guedes and Gomez were also on target as they beat Leicester 3-0, and Bournemouth won by the same scoreline at Old Trafford 3-0 against Manchester United, with Semenyo scoring again for the Cherries and Kluivert scoring another penalty for Iraola's side. Then in the final game of the weekend, Spurs, well, they were smashed up by the leaders Liverpool, who won 6-3 in North London. Diaz, Salah and Szoboszlai all returning big for Arne Slot's side. So that is game week 17 done. That is game week 17 dusted, but who were the players that shone bright like a diamond and who absolutely did not? It's time for winners and losers.
The FPL Draft Zone. Winners and losers.
First up are the winners, and we'll start with Mr. Inevitable, Mo Salah, who picked up another 21 points for draft owners this week. He's now got 15 goals and 11 assists in just 17 games this season. So just your 26 returns so far, which will be having an insane impact on all our draft leagues. He's got 31 bonus points in that time as well. And it's Leicester City up next at Anfield for the Egyptian. Yikes and double yikes, and bad luck, by the way, if you're up against a Salah owner in this week's head-to-head. Alexander Isak is another winner after he scored his first Premier League hat-trick in Newcastle's demolition of Ipswich. He's now got 9 goals in his last 9 league games, having scored just 1 in his first 8 league games. And Everton defenders also deserve to be on our winners list this week after they shut out free-scoring Chelsea at Goodison Park. In their last 6 games, they have now kept 5 clean sheets, and 4 of those games finished 0-0. But in that time, they have had some very creditable results in there as well against the likes of Arsenal and Brentford, as well as Enzo Maresca's side this weekend. So they've shown they can do the business against the better teams in the division, which is something we will be talking more about a little later in the show. As for this week's losers, Manchester City assets continue to lose value by the day, by the hour, by the minute, by the second. Another defeat for them means they've now had just 1 win in their last 12 games in all competitions. 9 of those games have been defeats, and they have lost the last 3 in a row. Defensively, they look leakier than a canoe made of paper mache. And Spurs and Manchester United also enter this week's loser list, with those two having played each other in the Carabao Cup on Thursday and both looking absolutely dreadful defensively. Well, surprise, surprise, they took that defensive form into the weekend and they did some damage to themselves, conceding 9 goals between them and both losing at home by 3 clear goals. So well done to our winners, hard luck to our losers, but there can only be one fantasy hero of the week. So let's find out who it is.
Hero of the Week.
And this week's Hero of the Week is Mr. Gabriel Jesus, who after failing to score for 9 months has now got 5 goals in 2 games and appears to be channeling the spirit of R9 Real Ronaldo with his pace, his skill and his ruthlessness. Yes, you heard me right. I used the word ruthlessness in the same sentence as the words Gabriel and Jesus. Gabby J was absolutely brilliant for Arsenal in their League Cup win over Crystal Palace. He scored a hat-trick. He absolutely destroyed Oliver Glasner's defensive lineup. And you know what? He then went and did the same at Selhurst Park on Saturday night, walking away with 2 goals, walking away with an assist, walking away with maximum bonus points, and it could even have been more. He could have made it 2 hat-tricks in a week had he been a bit more fortunate in front of goal. On his day, Gabriel Jesus looks like one of the most talented players in the top flight, but injury after injury meant he lost his place in that Arsenal side, and with that he seemed to lose all his confidence as well. But based on those last 2 matches against the Eagles, he appears to be back, and back with a bang. He looks fast, he looks strong, his technique looks sublime. He's even started to finish like Erling Haaland back when Erling Haaland used to be able to finish. It's not Easter yet, and yet the second coming is here. Jesus is back, baby. And if you picked him up in your draft league before this weekend, you walked away with a big, fat 16-pointer this week. And next up for Gabby J, Ipswich Town at the Emirates. The big JC has some company this Christmas. His name is Gabriel Jesus, and he is this week's fantasy hero of the week.
Hero of the Week.
Right, Christmas is days away now, and that means the festive fixtures are right around the corner with Gameweek 18 kicking off on Boxing Day. We will talk waiver picks in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at those all-important fixtures that will decide your fantasy fate and will either make it a very Merry Christmas or a very miserable one. And it all starts with another 12:30pm GMT game involving the champions Manchester City, who take on a Scrooge-like Everton side at the Etihad. Everton's recent upturn in defensive form and City's lack of any form means that maybe, just maybe, this could be the game that sees the Toffees end a dreadful run against Manchester City. They have not beaten them in any of their previous 15 meetings, and of those 15 meetings, 13 of them have ended in defeat with 2 draws. There are 4 games at 3 o'clock on Boxing Day. It's a West London derby at Stamford Bridge as Chelsea take on Fulham. Fulham will be looking to bounce back from that draw with Southampton with a result against their neighbours, but history is not on their side. They have not won at the home of the Blues since 1979, 45 years ago. Cole Palmer got the only goal of the game last season in a 1-0 win for the home side. It's Newcastle against Aston Villa at St James's Park, and the Toon have a phenomenal record against Villa on their own patch. Last season it finished 5-1, with Isak scoring twice. The season before it finished 4-0, with Callum Wilson scoring twice. There's even been a 6-0 in there as well, not too long ago. In fact, you have to go back nearly 20 years to 2005 for Villa's last win at Newcastle. It's Nottingham Forest at home to Spurs at the City Ground. Forest have the 3rd best defensive record in the Premier League right now, and Spurs look so open against Liverpool, but historically Tottenham have got a good record against Nottingham Forest. They've won the last 3 meetings away from home. Kulusevski was on target in a 2-0 win last season. It's Southampton against West Ham. The Saints drew 0-0 with Fulham on Sunday, and 2 of the last 3 meetings between these two sides at St Mary's have also ended 0-0. And then at 5:30pm GMT, it's Wolves against Manchester United. This one finished 4-3 to United last season in an absolute thriller with Marcus Rashford on target for United. I wonder what happened to him. There's also a late kickoff on Boxing Day with Liverpool taking on Leicester at Anfield. Leicester looked really, really bad against Wolves this weekend, and Liverpool looked really, really good against Spurs. So I wonder how this one's going to go. Probably an absolute shellacking for Ruud van Nistelrooy's side. Liverpool have won the last 4 meetings between these two teams. Diego Jota has scored 3 times across those 4 games. The game week continues on the 27th of December with 2 more matches. Brighton take on Brentford at the Amex, where goals will surely be guaranteed. Brighton won 2-1 in this fixture last season, with Jack Hinchelwood scoring for the Seagulls and Mbeumo on target for Brentford. And then wrapping up the game week, it's a Sackerless Arsenal against Ipswich Town. And the last time these two sides met in the league was way back in 2002, when Arsenal were champions and when Freddie Ljungberg scored twice for the Gunners in a 2-0 win. So those are the games that we have to look forward to, but who, I ask you, who are the players that can help you win your game week? It is time for Waiver Wants.
The FPL Draft Zone, Waiver Wants.
So as usual, we're going to go through potential waiver pickups in fixture order, and that means we are starting with the champions Manchester City against Everton. And even though Everton's record absolutely stinks at City's ground, I do not think you should be afraid of investing in one of their defensive assets ahead of this match. Ashley Young has been excellent from an FPL point of view this season. He's picked up 8 bonus points so far. But if I had the freedom to pick any Everton defender this weekend, I would be going for James Tarkowski, who will be a huge threat from set pieces and who is very much due an attacking return. He has an expected goal involvement this season of 1.9, which is a solid number for a centre-back, and yet so far he has not got a goal and he has not got an assist to show for those numbers. However, as we have seen from quite a large sample size now, Manchester City are bobbins, and defensively they are all over the shop. Against Villa, they lined up with a strong back four, actually, of Vardiol, Stones, Akanji and Lewis. But given the injury track record of Stones in particular, plus fitness doubts over Akanji, and the quick turnaround time from that game week into this game week, they are surely going to have to rotate for this game. Kyle Walker came on for Stones against Villa, so he could start this one. And as we've seen, he is not the player he once was, or he certainly doesn't look like it at the moment. It was Walker who lost Gabriel for Arsenal's goal in that 2-2 draw back when City were quite good. And Tarkowski's aerial threat is going to cause City problems in this one. Sean Dyche will set his side up to keep things tight. He will try to make the most of whatever set pieces come his way. And of all their players, Tarkowski is the one most likely to benefit from that. So he would be my first pick here. Everton's fixtures after this game are not easy in the festive period and beyond, but they have shown already against the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea that they can still grind out results against the very best. So I would not be overly worried about playing the fixtures here, and I do think some Everton defensive coverage is going to serve you well, not just this week, but for the foreseeable future as well. As for City, well, there have been no signs of an imminent return to form, so unless you've seen something I haven't, I would not rush to get any of their players in. But I would say that their next set of games are good. They have matches against Leicester, West Ham and Ipswich in 3 of their next 4. So surely if they're ever going to rediscover their form, it is going to be now. And if that's the case, Savio may be free. He's the sort of player who's been dropped in and out of draft teams all over the shop. And even though he's yet to score or assist, surely that's going to change at some point. And who knows, maybe his goal against Aston Villa may finally wake up our player of the year, Philip Foden, who could be a good trade opportunity or perhaps a good sell opportunity, depending on your stance. It's Bournemouth taking on Crystal Palace at the Vitality. Bournemouth will be without Marcus Tavernier again, but Ouattara has looked pretty good as his replacement. He got an assist in Bournemouth's win over Manchester United, and having played just 696 minutes so far, he has already got 2 goals and 3 assists, which works out roughly at a return every 1.4 games. As for Crystal Palace, you've probably missed the boat on Ismaila Sarr now, but if you haven't, get him in. He looked good again against Arsenal. Munoz is back from suspension, so if anyone decided to bin him off prematurely, he would be a great pickup as well. And given Palace's upcoming fixtures and recent upturn in form, Arsenal results aside, any of Guéhi, Lacroix or Mitchell would also make excellent waivers this week. After Bournemouth, they have Southampton, Leicester and West Ham in 3 of their next 4. It's Chelsea against Fulham at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea have lost Fofana and Badiashile for the long term, so Disasi and Tosin could be good pickups this week. I would edge towards Tosin if I had to choose between them. Fulham gave another start to Muniz in the draw with Southampton, and it does feel like during this busy Christmas period he is going to share games and minutes with Jimenez, and that would mean he probably won't start this one and Jimenez will, but that means that Muniz will start against one of Bournemouth or Ipswich in the following 2 games, both of which are very winnable and both of which are at Craven Cottage. So if you're short of a third striker option, Muniz could be a decent option going forward, as could Harry Wilson, who could easily have walked away with a goal against Southampton but for a great save from Aaron Ramsdale. So with those upcoming fixtures in mind, he could be a decent waiver too. It's Newcastle against Villa at St James's Park. Dubravka started in the absence of Nick Pope if you want a route into that Newcastle backline. Jacob Murphy would be a good pickup, but it may be too late for that if you have an engaged draft league on your hands. Some managers may have decided to bin off Harvey Barnes due to a lack of starts, but there is no doubt he's going to get his fair share of minutes over the next few games as Eddie Howe tries to keep his side as fresh as possible. And after Villa, it's trips to 2 very open, leaky teams, Manchester United and Spurs. So someone like Barnes could win big over the next couple of matches. As for Aston Villa, Tielemans played in a more advanced role against Manchester City. He looked good there as well, finished with an XGI of 0.32 in that one, and he has an XGI for the season of 5.1. He's got 4 assists so far, and he's more than capable of adding a few goals to that tally as well. And Matty Cash continues to play very high up for Unai Emery's side. He could easily have scored against City, so if you want an attack-minded defender from a top 6 team, he could be your man. It's Forest against Spurs at the City Ground. Nico Williams continues to get starts for Forest, so if you want a route into the 3rd best defence in the league, he may well be your answer, although Alex Moreno is waiting in the wings to win his place back in that side. Murato also started in that win over Brentford as part of a back 3, so he could represent good value as well if he's not being picked up. As for Spurs, here's some obvious draft FPL insight for you. You ready for this? Avoid their defence at all costs. Yeah, you're welcome. But beyond that, their best attacking options will probably already be taken. Aaron Ramsdale could be a good keeper pickup ahead of Southampton's game with West Ham. He got that 10-pointer in the draw with Fulham. He is going to be a busy boy over the next few months, so save points could well be on the agenda. And West Ham are not exactly prolific right now, so he may even have the chance to make it 2 clean sheets in a row with this game on Boxing Day. As for the Hammers, Fulkrug started against Brighton. He managed 56 minutes in that one, but given his injury record, he's almost certain to be rested for this one, which should mean a start for Somerville. He's got a goal and an assist so far for the Hammers in the league from an XGI of 3.1. And if Southampton revert to Russell Martin levels of defensive solidity, he's likely to get a chance or two in this one.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Komm du noch?
If you've heard that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
It's Wolves against Manchester United at Molineux. Guedes looked great in the win over Leicester. I think he will have a big part to play under the new manager. He's got a goal and an assist in that last game against Leicester in just 73 minutes of action. Whether or not he came off rested for the next game, time will tell. He's going to start this one, I suspect, particularly with the threat of a Cunha ban hanging over the Brazilian. And Rodrigo Gomez was another player who we had reasonable hopes for at the start of the campaign. He got a rare start against Leicester. He scored as well, so he's one to watch. I wouldn't rush to get him, but certainly one to watch. However, crucially, Ryan Ait-Nouri may well have been wavered out due to his suspension, but he is back this week, and he has been playing as an out-and-out winger in training, apparently. So he could be draft gold if you can get him in time for this new manager bounce. Liverpool assets will be thin on the ground ahead of their game with Leicester City, but given their firepower and Leicester's leakiness, literally any of their midfielders or forwards with a pulse would be worth a punt this weekend. Specifically, Curtis Jones may be free, or Harvey Elliott. They both came on against Spurs and will be pushing for a start in what should be a heavily rotated team against the Foxes. However, if there is a Szoboszlai lying around or a McAllister still free, waiver them up. Buttercup. It's Brighton against Brentford at the Amex. I'm expecting a lot of goals in this one, and in the continued absence of Danny Welbeck, and with rotation being the order of the day at this time of the season, there's a good chance we might see Evan Ferguson from the start. Brighton have Aston Villa and Arsenal after Brentford, so if they're going to use their squad, it is likely to be in this one, and Ferguson has had minutes in each of the last 6 games, so a good chance he will start in this one. And Arsenal take on Ipswich Town at the Emirates without Bukayo Saka, but with Gabby Jesus, who should be obviously top of your waiver list this week if he's free. Beyond him, though, they have a Saka-shaped hole they need to fill on the right-hand side of midfield, and while it's easy to think that it may be filled by a combination of Martinelli and Trossard, I think this game at the very least could well be the chance that Ethan Nwaneri has been waiting for. Arteta could shift Jesus wide and put Havertz back up front, and then that situation without Saka is solved. Or he could use Trossard and Martinelli on both flanks, but given Jesus' form and confidence that you're seeing from it in these last 2 games, I think he is going to start in the middle again against Ipswich. I think Martinelli will definitely start on the left, and there is surely no better fixture to give Nwaneri a chance from the start than Ipswich Town at home. After that, it's Brentford away and Brighton away for Arsenal, so I suspect they will keep Trossard in reserve for this one. I think they'll play Nwaneri, and I think they'll rotate Jesus, Havertz, Nwaneri and Trossard over the next few weeks to keep them as fresh as they possibly can. But for this one, my money is on Nwaneri, and as we have already seen from the youngster, he has got talent in abundance, so if you can get him in, he could be a really good under-the-radar pick. Anyway, those are your waiver picks for Game Week 18. The deadline for them is at 11 a.m. on Christmas Day, just after you've opened your stocking and sunk a bottle of champagne or similar. A reminder that the game week starts on Boxing Day with that lunchtime kickoff between Manchester City and Everton, and then it runs through to the 27th of December, ending with that Arsenal game against Ipswich Town. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the pod. Please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Please give us a lovely review on Spotify. Make sure you're following us on social media as well. We're on X and Instagram, where our handle is @FPLDraftZone. And we're also on Blue Sky, where our handle is @FPLDraftZone.bsky.social. Our posts are sporadic, but we always try to reply to any posts or replies or messages that you send us. So don't be put off from getting in touch, because we love to hear from you. But that is it for this week. Have a lovely Christmas, eat too much food, drink too much drink, open present after present after present until your hands are numb, and good luck ahead of Game Week 18. But until next time, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.